Hey, welcome back to the Bridgeton Beacon. I am here at La Hacienda Bakery at 308 West Chestnut Avenue in Vineland, and I have the pleasure of having café con leche with Jose Silva. Jose is an attorney, more recently a relationship life coach. So I have known Jose for a number of years. I also know that he is a coffee aficionado. And so he is here today first to tell us all about La Hacienda Bakery and this absolutely delicious coffee that I'm drinking with him today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Meg. It's a pleasure to be here. La Hacienda Bakery has been here for at least 20 years. In fact, my office used to be around the corner here, and my wife was a little scared that I would gain a lot of weight because of the Puerto Rican bread, the Puerto Rican pastries, the Puerto Rican coffee. Everything is so delicious here that she thought I would gain a lot of weight.
And spend a lot of money.
And spend a lot of money. So obviously, like everybody else, you buy a Keurig. And back then, I don't think they had the café con leche in the K-cups. But the café con leche is really espresso coffee, and they make it in a certain way. It's not your typical way of doing coffee like you would in a coffee machine. What happens is the old-fashioned ways, you have what I call a sock, but it's a strainer, and you go ahead and you put the coffee with water and you let it boil, and then you take the coffee and you put it into the sock, and it drains into, let's say a glass jar. And in another pot, you go ahead and you simmer milk, and you put sugar in there. And that's their technique of frothing. I have my own frother at my office and at home, but I tried it that way at home a few weeks ago, and it was like so good.
Well, this is why I reached out to you, because you had posted something on Facebook about your mom's coffee and trying to recreate it because you had come here and it made you think of her. So is this the type of coffee your mom made?
Oh yeah, this is what she would make when I was a kid, and I would watch her do it, but I didn't know how long it would take. I forgot how she would, the strainer, how she would do it, whether she put the coffee in the strainer, and I had to watch some videos, and people said, no, just put it in the actual water, and then you go ahead and pour it in there. And it was just amazing, amazing, amazing.
So this is absolutely delicious. I've never had coffee that tastes like this because they just make it right for you.
This takes me back to the 60s when I was a kid and my mother would make it at home.
Really?
And in a Hispanic household, at least a Puerto Rican household, growing up, you're raised with this from a young age. Some people say, oh, don't give your kids coffee until they're like 10 or 11 years old. As a baby, I was drinking coffee.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York City. I was born in the Bronx, and my parents raised us in Astoria, Queens. And it was different because there were not many Hispanic homes. There were maybe 3 Puerto Rican families in the building we lived in. But if my parents wanted anything Puerto Rican-ish, they would go back to the Bronx, and if there was a bakery over there called Valencia Bakery, which is still in existence, and they would buy the cake or cakes and all types of things and bring it home. In fact, when family would visit us from Manhattan or Brooklyn or the Bronx, they would go to Valencia in the Bronx, buy cake, and then visit us. That was just a tradition. They would always bring something. They would never come home empty-handed.
Yeah, it's a sin to come someplace empty-handed.
I went there to the Valencia like maybe 10 years ago. I had an attorney gave me tickets to the opening day at Yankee Stadium, and he couldn't make it. So I took a police officer from Vineland, Jason Scalzi, and the game was rained out. And I said to him, don't worry about it. We have a full day ahead of us. And we went to, I believe it's a Jewish deli almost across the street from Yankee Stadium. And we had pastrami. It was breakfast. And then I said, we're going to go to this Puerto Rican bakery, Valencia. And when we got there, we ordered a whole bunch of cake, but I asked the counter person, I said, my parents got married in 1956 and they had their wedding cake from here. Do you still carry it? He goes, oh yeah, it's that one on the wall. Every decade they change it. So it's been around since the 50s or the 40s, but it was just really, really good stuff.
That's fantastic. So how did you end up in the Vineland area?
My ex-wife is a doctor. She went to Tufts Medical School. I went to New England Law School in Boston. Both of us are in Boston. And she had to pay back the government for paying for her medical school. So she ended up at FCI Fairton, the federal prison, when it first opened up, and she was their first doctor.
Well, you and I first met back when I think we were both prosecutors together in Cumberland County.
Correct.
Many moons ago. And then you went into private practice, and I went down to Cape May, and then ultimately went to private practice. So you're still in private practice.
I'm still in private
What
practice.
kind of law do you practice?
I practice primarily a lot of divorce work. I try not to do much criminal because the prosecutor mentality is still in me, unfortunately. So I refer them out, but I take on a few cases here and there just to keep my skills alive. And the funny thing is that I haven't done criminal in a few years, and I started doing something, I think this year or last year, but I got a case and the person had the acronym is CJP. I had no idea what CJP was. And I called up a local attorney. I said, dude, what is CJP? He goes, oh, and he mentioned what it was. What is it? CJ, what does the P stand for?
You're putting me on the spot here at 8 o'clock in the morning.
So I said,
Criminal justice program.
okay. So I just sent in my letter of representation because they have all these multi-levels for court before it even goes to trial. I'm so used to going to trial and just fighting that they just kind of watered it down so that people can settle cases earlier than before.
Right.
So it makes things much, much easier. And what I find myself is asking the prosecutor, like, do you still do this? How about this?
So you're not just a lawyer, though. You have also fairly recently, I think, delved into relationship life coaching.
Yes.
So how did that happen? And tell me about that aspect of what you do.
That's interesting because I thought I had been coaching people for a long time until I found out that you can actually become a coach, a life coach, by taking a course. And I took a course through the Christian author. His name is John Maxwell. And I had spoken to various friends, and they said, well, if you want to do something along the Christian realm, then I would suggest you stay with John Maxwell. And I took his training, vigorous training, and I did it through the pandemic, and it was all online. And then you went to graduation. One of my friends, we did it together, but he went in person. I did it online, the graduation. But what happens is I wanted to help my divorce clients make better decisions. In fact, I wanted all my clients to make better decisions. So it would come down to, as you're speaking with a client and you're saying, well, either the prosecutor is offering this or this is what your wife wants. What's your decision? But you learn how to ask the question differently, because what you don't want is to be put in a position where your client is always going to make the wrong decision.
Well, I think all lawyers are relationship life coaches in a way.
In a way, because you're always at that crossroad as to you now need to make a decision. So the typical question is, your wife wants $600 a week in alimony, which is a lot of money, right? Which comes out to, if you multiply by 52 weeks, that's like 30-something thousand a year. If we go to trial, you're going to pay me just to go to trial a good starting $15,000. And I can't guarantee how much more it will cost, but it's going to cost, if we fight this all the way, we're talking about $45,000, $50,000, $60,000. Would you rather pay her the $600 now, or would you rather fight it and see if the judge is going to trickle it down? And if the matrimonial early settlement panel recommended $600 and the judge is going to come close to that, are you really throwing money away and helping me buy a new car? Right. So what happens in coaching, I wanted to help clients make better life decisions, not necessarily in the actual case, but I wanted them to make better life decisions as they moved on through life. Once they were done with me, I wanted them to make better decisions in their lives, in their life choices. So if they called me up and they would say afterward, Jose, I have this issue. And I say, well, why did you do that, right? That's kind of dumb. Why did you threaten your wife with a knife? You know.
But I would imagine it's separate and apart from legal advice.
Right. But I wanted them to make better life choices, help their kids make better choices, analyze things differently so that in life they wouldn't really have to call me for those type of things. I really wanted to educate them so that they never had to call me unless they wanted to invite me to a wedding or to their child's baptism or things of that nature. I didn't want to constantly be representing people because they made wrong choices. I wanted them to make right choices, them to be educated and be more self-sufficient.
I would imagine that the training you got as relationship life coach has helped you be a better lawyer, and being a good attorney has helped you be a good relationship life coach.
It's
Is that
helped me,
fair to say?
yeah, it's helped me a great deal because I'm able to analyze things differently. I'm able to help clients look at problems and problem solving differently. And one of the things, I became also a family law mediator. So when I do both of them, when I use both schools of thought, we don't look at someone as the problem. We look at the issue as a problem, which and essentially is you're going to pay your wife alimony. Your wife is not the problem. The law says she's going to get it. She's going to receive alimony. What better way of getting them to say, okay, let's work on this together and look at the alimony as a problem, not as each other as a problem. And if we put our heads together, we can come up with a resolution. And if we reach a resolution together, we're more likely to be accepting of it as opposed to a judge telling you this is what it is.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're helping people take the emotion out of the situation.
So it helps a great deal when people are able to analyze things differently. It's a little bit more difficult in a type of case where it's criminal, where the people are charged with a criminal offense. And as a prosecutor, if you're prosecuting someone, you know that you're going to win almost 100% of the time. When we were prosecutors, it was not often that we lost. It's when we take the case as a defense attorney, we try to look, what people say, you got to look for the holes in the case, or I forget what other terms they use.
Well, you have to be able to come up with a pragmatic resolution.
So you're offering the client, say, this is what happened, this is what they say in the police report, and these are your choices, and this is the likelihood of what's going to happen. And it gets harder if, for example, the person is charged with, let's say, a criminal sexual offense, which they don't want to be tagged with that. They'll plead to anything unrelated to sex offense or anything that deals with kids. So it's really, how do you coach them to get to that decision in getting that response? Because the choice is you go to trial and the jury's probably going to find you guilty, and it's going to be a lot worse. How do you speak with a prosecutor and persuade them without offending them? This is a better choice for these reasons.
You're a risk mitigator.
But what my wife likes to call me, a problem solver.
Fixer.
Yeah, a fixer, because everyone knows that if we go to trial, the chances of winning are exponentially less.
Understood. And all the while being fueled with delicious.
This coffee,
This is
it's
kicking
addictive.
in. Oh yeah, I can see why. So I want to talk for a couple more minutes about La Hacienda, but before we do that, where can folks find you? Where's your office?
My office, the address is 12 Franklin Street, Bridgeton, New Jersey. My phone number is 856-692-7400. And we're a bilingual office, so if someone only wants to speak Spanish, I'll speak to them in Spanish, or I'll speak to them in English. And sometimes my Spanish-speaking clients will walk in and they're like shocked. They look at me because they think I'm a white guy, and they'll ask my secretary, but I thought he spoke Spanish. She goes, oh yeah, he's very fluent in Spanish.
You are right around the corner from the office of the Bridgeton Beacon, which means that I can stop by and try some of your homemade.
The problem is I don't have a stove top.
We talked about that, yeah.
To do it. But what I've done is, like, I can froth my own milk. I have a frother, and I have a French press, so I can French press the coffee, and it comes close. It's not.
Right, we'll have to try it out. Who's building it? Did you purchase a building on Franklin?
Like, I was renting from Ann Feinstein. She sold the building in December. The owner of the building is a guy named Jose, I forget his last name. His family is
I know which building that is. You're near Howard Melnikov's building.
Yeah, I'm like maybe 150 feet from him or something.
Howard's a great guy.
But I wanted to tell that people that if they have issues like in their relationship, whether you're married or unmarried, and you don't want to go to a marriage counselor, people have this negative connotation of a marriage counselor as a relationship coach. I help individuals sort out what their problems are so that they don't come to see me for a divorce. And what really we use the train of thought is positive psychology. So we don't talk about anything negative. We talk about where you want to go in your relationship and what is how much work you want to do to improve your relationship. And I use books like The Five Love Languages, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I do a lot of homework. I give people homework. We do a lot of exercises as to how to improve communication. I've even used that paradigm with professionals. They could be lawyers, they could be doctors. I coach medical practices. I coach professionals to improve their communication. I have one client that said to me, I made 10 million this year. I want to go to 100 million. So how do I, what we call reverse engineer, to get from the 10 million to 100 million so they can make more money and be productive, but have a thriving relative while maintaining that harmonious relationship with their employees.
So it sounds like you prefer when your clients come to you before they have a problem.
Absolutely. This is more like if you were a doctor, this would be a preventive medicine. This is really where you want to prevent people from getting a divorce. In fact, I'm going to start a podcast, and it's called Keeping Families Together. And I've been just writing, and it's almost like a book now, writing about maintaining a relationship and what is the puzzle. How do you unravel the puzzle to maintain that thriving, loving relationship? People sometimes stay together, but they don't love each other. And what it comes down to is really maintaining that special sauce in the relationship, because after the honeymoon, people say, I'm no longer in love. That's because when you got married, it was not love that got you there. It's more of a different feeling. But now when you cement that relationship, that love is not that thing that the butterflies in the stomach. Oh, he looks so cute. You know, oh, she's got beautiful dimples. I'm in love with her. I love the way she moves. That is gone. It's now he's leaving the freaking toilet seat up, and he's going to say, her bras are all over the place. She's driving me crazy. And if she's Latino, forget about it. She comes with her own machete. So it is really learning to dance the flamingo and not stepping on each other's toes so that you can continue dancing that flamingo and learning how to overcome the obstacles that we all face. We all face these. Some are able to do it better than others, but not everyone gets the training or understands how to maneuver out of that type of complexity in a relationship. And I love doing it, and I'm really good at it. But it's a lot of fun.
It sounds like you're passionate about it.
Yes.
Right.
Keeping families together. And I try to do Bible-based. So if people they want to get coaching using Bible, I do that. If you're Jewish, for example, then I stay in the Old Testament. If you're a Christian, I do both Old and New Testament. If you're a non-believer, then I use Gandhi. I use whatever other sources are available to help people understand really their joint effort to keep that relationship together.
That's fantastic. So as a local Bridgeton attorney, you're welcome to come back on the Bridgeton Beacon anytime.
Oh.
Use the Bridgeton Beacon as a platform. And if you start your own podcast, we'll keep an eye out on that and share that with our listeners as well.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
So I appreciate you inviting me here to La Hacienda, and we have some treats. So why don't you tell us what you have recommended as our snack this morning?
So in Megan's bag, she has what would be a slice almost of a pie. I forget what they call it in Spanish, but this is what non-Hispanics call guava with cheese. In Spanish, it's called guayaba.
I'm going to try it.
And it's super delicious. And the one that I have is pineapple with cheese. So it's piña con queso. So we have piña con queso, and we have café con leche. And let me tell you, it is amazing. Can they see you taking a bite out of this?
It is delicious.
Amazing.
It is fantastic.
Mm.
Highly recommend La Hacienda Bakery at 308 West Chestnut in Vineland. And I can see why you suggested that we meet here today.
And I have to tell you that if you like the cake, it's called tres leches. They make it fresh here. I bought one for a friend of mine, and it was a big cake. It must have cost me like $40. My son loves it. My kids love it. But it is so delicious. Tres leches, the cake. You have to try it. And when you come here, are you going to take a video of what they have?
You want to walk me through, and you can point out to our listeners what you would recommend here at La Hacienda Bakery.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, bud. Kodo, right? Oscar.
Right. Now I work at
From the bank. Oh, yeah. We're doing a podcast here. So this is the pastry at La Hacienda. Estamos poniendo La Hacienda en un programa. So if you see here, we have pastelón de fresa, that's strawberry. And next to it is pastelón de fresa with sin queso, without cheese. And then you have apple with cheese and then we have limon. And that would be lemon. Okay, that's one I got. And then we have piña. Oh no, that's lemon. And then I got piña. Then down here you have pastelón de guayaba without the cheese. So we have with cheese and without cheese. And then you had, I call them the hot pockets, empanadas, and they have filled with different types of fruits. They are super, super delicious. And my kids come here and they just, I think they're addicted to it. My son loves over here, the donut with cream, which is really delicious. And down below, I don't know if you can see these, pan de guayaba. So it's called bread of guayaba with cheese, con queso.
Absolutely delicious.
Now I'm going to show you over here in the refrigerator, you have the cakes. So you have cheesecake, you have Oreo, you have flan. Have you ever tried flan?
Years ago, not recently. That looks delicious.
And then you have tres leches is around here someplace, which is my favorite besides the flan. But these are all, you probably have to go see your doctor afterwards because you have to check your sugar level. And what really they're known here is for making the Puerto Rican bread over there. You see pan de agua and pan sobao. One is longer and skinnier and the other one is thicker and wider.
Absolutely delicious.
Unbelievable. And
They're open early.
They're open early.
Saturday morning, we're here at 8 o'clock, right here on West Chestnut, Vineland, the Hacienda Bakery. Jose, I hope you join us again to give us a life advice, lawyering advice, and maybe most importantly, bakery and coffee advice.
It was my pleasure.
Let's do it again.
To be back again.
Thank you again.
Bye. And I think you wanted me to say something in Spanish.
I do. I think that would be a nice thing for us to add on to this.
Sure. So, estamos en la hacienda. Aquí es la panadería. Estamos en Vineland, en la calle 3 y West Chestnut Avenue. Meg quiere que yo diga algo en español acerca de lo que yo hago como entrenador, relationship life coach. Un relationship life coach, esa relación no se encuentre en un divorcio o que se rompa la relación entre las personas que están en negocio juntos. Si ustedes quieren hablar conmigo, el teléfono de mi oficina es 856-692-7400 y mi dirección es en Bridgeton, es la 12 Franklin Street en Bridgeton. Ojalá que ustedes me puedan llamar y hacer una cita para hablar conmigo. Muchas gracias por escuchar y vernos hoy. Gracias.
Gracias, Jose.